Yeah, welcome everyone. First, thank you so much to Katerina for inviting me to come and for you all to be here. It's a gift of your presence. And I hope to share some helpful, maybe helpful, hopefully interesting and helpful discoveries on my path. And of course, I don't know how to be helpful. I don't know what is living in your life. We don't know each other, so hopefully we can connect here in some ways. And I will kind of take the liberty of beginning by just talking about some things and maybe doing some guiding, and then hopefully we can have some interaction. I'm not so interested in kind of giving my view of the way embodiment works or a kind of thing I could write in a book. As always, I'm interested in talking to your heart, to your body, and also to your thoughts. So that's my goal. And maybe we can start just by taking a few moments, maybe just closing our eyes together and letting all the kind of getting here, technology. And for some it's early morning, for some it's probably, afternoon. Katerina and maybe others, it's very early morning. So maybe close your eyes and sense you're sitting here on this spot. Really this spot. Every other place in the universe is your imagination right now. And can we background thought and even background feeling and just sense I'm sitting here. And my seat, my chair, the ground confirms my presence in this moment. And to go from thinking about that to sensing your bottom, the texture of the seat. Your right foot is somewhere, and you can find it, which is amazing. And what it's touching. So we keep backgrounding thought, backgrounding the aboutness, and foregrounding, there is my left foot. I sense it. I'm here. And we need a muting of somebody. There we go. And your right hand is somewhere. And amazingly, you can hear the word right hand and find it and sense what it's touching. And your left hand has some temperature sensations. Just by hearing that, you can go there and it comes alive because it's right here, right where it is and right where you are. Hearing my words and remarkably turning that into experience. And of course, as you're grounded on this spot, you're also naturally breathing, and without any special effort, you can sense the movement of air as it comes into the inner spaces in your throat and chest, in your belly, and lower belly. So from this kind of embodied presence, we can share an intention to have some helpful or meaningfulness together as we explore This relationship of physical body, feeling body, those are words, but maybe they point in a helpful direction. And I just want to start or continue. Of course, you can open your eyes whenever you like, but hopefully that we keep returning to listening from presence, listening from our hearts. The concepts might be helpful, but they're less important than what goes in. So I was very, very, very lucky and blessed to have a close connection to Gene, and I got to visit him at his house and stay over, and usually my trips would be from California, where I lived at the time, and would go visit him in Westchester, New York, a little upstate, and usually we'd talk for a long time and have something to eat, and then I'd sleep downstairs and then come up and then have the next morning together. And Mary was there also. You knew Mary, I guess, and she was a very important influence on Gene, and we would have time together as well. And I'm thinking to share, I think it was maybe my third meeting there, fourth meeting there, something like that. And I was getting a little braver, maybe, a little more comfortable with being with such an incredible soul, right? Nobody has ever listened to me the way Gene did. No one ever had those liquidy, warm eyes the way his were. And yeah, so it touches me just to say that. Yeah, so he knew of what I was doing in the world. We had had a mutual friend, Zalman Schachter, who was a rabbi who was a mutual friend of ours, and actually introduced us. And so he knew something about what I was doing, and I was telling him, I've noticed, Gene, that very often people have they're almost like dividing into two categories. I said, not really categories, but kind of two emphasis. I said, so many people would come, and their dominant way of living in the world was thinking, and their feelings were way in the background. And then next person would come in for a session, and they were all about their feelings, but had a very difficult time stepping back from their feelings. And I would always make the joke, and those two people usually got married and they couldn't talk to each other, right? So I said, what I've noticed, Gene, is that the thinkers, when they get in touch with their physical body, get closer to their feelings. It's like, it's a safer way of contacting their feeling life if they have a step of dropping out of so much thinking, and dropping down and feeling their bodies. And I notice that with so many people where their feeling life was so active and often dominating their experience, that by dropping into their physical body, they were able to get a little step back, a little bit more space from the dominance of emotional experience, and get more perspective and be able to be a little more whole. And so I said, what I've noticed is that the physical body is kind of the missing link for a lot of people to have that sense of wholeness, that sense of I'm connected to my feeling life, my thinking life, and my presence in this physical body. And that when all of those could be online together, so to speak, not necessarily equal, but accessible, that the sense of awareness in the moment really grew. And he got really excited because, Gene was amazingly in touch with his felt senses and his feelings. but really disconnected from his physical body. Now that sounds really weird to hear for those people who didn't know him, but he would sit in his chair kind of like this and kind of making notes, and brilliant mind, brilliant heart, but really not very connected sensorially. And so he got really excited because I would lead him through kind of dropping into his body and just being present physically. And he would go, Mary, you got to come in here. We need more of this. We need some more of this in our work. And it was, of course, very validating and important for me to have such such a brilliant being acknowledging that the path I was following had merit in his eyes. So this sense of, actually, I want to pause there for a moment, and let's just let that in. Again, I'm not trying to get agreement with anything, and maybe all this is real familiar to everybody, and I'm not saying anything interesting or new, but this is what I have right now, is there's something about valuing sensory experience as an entry point to presence. Before, how am I? I am here. This is the essence of Zen also, of course. Before, my story about how I am or what's happening with me or all the things that are really important at another level of consciousness. Just here, before my story about myself, my partner, the world, the election, before anything, this breath comes. This sitting here, returning to this life that then opens into whatever else wants attention, wants company, wants presence. But I noticed as I would, because like all of us, I've got a big range of students. When I would teach people who were strong in the meditation realm, I would teach at Zen centers and lead retreats, or strong meditators, that when they learned something about focusing, a whole world opened up. There was really a gap in many people's range of experience. And when I had the opportunity to work with a lot of more psychologically oriented people, focusers and therapists, something really opened as they learned the meditation side of the work and valuing the simplicity of just this moment as it is, as a space in which one could then take care of whatever needed attention. And of course, the focusing folks and the psychologically oriented folks, when they study with me, I've got to be careful because the focusing and the meditation are so close to each other that they'll tend to want to go more into the felt sensing about their experience. And the meditators tend to want to keep all that to the side. And I'm wanting to say there's a different emphasis that's important to grow the ground of being prior to story. To value the light of awareness just as the light of awareness, not what it's paying attention to. Awareness of awareness. To value that and have space for that. In Gene's language, I think he was so right on in his expression, the I without content. The I without content. What a brilliant expression for the quality of awareness that I'm talking about. And then when he would say, and entering the larger space, another beautiful expression. That the larger space and the I without content are not just there for felt sensing, are actually there just for themselves, just to be here. And from that is an incredible ground of being for taking care and finding the meaningfulness and the richness in all that lives in our individual how am I experience at this moment. So that's a lot of words. I want to pause there because I'm not sure yet if I'm saying anything that is new or helpful or confusing or so I want to pause there and say one more thing and then see if you have anything you want to say thus far. So let's just pause together, not speak yet, and just feel into what resonates, what feels, no, I don't agree with that, that's wrong. I'm happy. Just like Gene, he taught me that. He says, give me your no's, give me your, argue with me. Or if something gets stimulated that feels like, oh, that's important, I'd like more of that, or I'm getting something that seems helpful. So for now, just listen inside. And of course, feeling yourself sitting here and feeling what's being moved in there is helpful. I know you all know that. And the last thing I want to say before I open it to your comments or questions, your experience, is it sounds like I'm describing two worlds, the world of awareness, this light of awareness, this larger space, and the kind of what I call in my work the historic self-identity, the who you think you are in ordinary time. And what I want to make sure I'm not giving a confusing message, it's not two. Yet it's not one. And those are the words of Suzuki Roshi, not two, not one. So what I can say is this larger space is not separate from our everyday concerns, thoughts, feelings, relationships, and it's larger than all. So we could say it, hopefully in a way that's not confusing. Our historic self-identity, the world of mind, the world of story, is all living in time. And awareness, the larger space, is functioning in the timeless. And they're never separate, but they're not the same. And hopefully that's not too confusing or something. But I'd love to hear from you so we have more connection. Yeah.
Megs, yes.
Could you just say a few more sentences about what you just said about, you said it's not the same. Could you just say 2 or 3 more sentences about that? I didn't absorb it to the...
Yeah, good. Okay.
I'm sure you said it right. I was just...
No.
I was jumbling.
I think these are big things. These are things that, Moshe Feldenkrais, who was an important teacher of mine, would say, I lost my teeth chewing on these things. You have to chew on them, So what I'm trying to, this is not an easy thing to get across. It's the picture that right now, you're in a room. And the room has you, and it has furniture, and it has other stuff in it. So there's also the space of the room that you could move everything out and move all this other stuff in. And then everything out and all the other stuff in. So all the stuff in your room keeps changing. But the room is unhindered by the stuff. So is the room separate from the stuff? Well, kind of, but you don't have a room without stuff in it. There's going to be stuff in it. So, and yet to be able to experience the essence of the room beyond its furniture, even beyond the person in there, but just the sense of that space. That's sometimes called oneness. But in the moment of oneness, you're at one with the stuff in the room. But the stuff in the room is also always changeable. I don't know if that makes it more confusing or less, but that's what I can do now, Megs. And thank you for the question. Did that help at all?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you.
And Liz as well. Liz, you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, what I want to say, what came very strongly for me was the image of the tuning fork. So you touch the tuning fork, and then there are all these reverberations and coming towards you and away from, and yet it's just like expanding and expanding and expanding, and yet I'm holding the tuning fork. So it just was a very powerful, rich image. And it's so heartfelt for me.
Thank you for that.
Mikhail, was it you? Abby Wan Wu, where are you? You like to unmute and speak there. Yeah.
Hi, Russell.
Hi.
I felt intrigued by what you said about Jane, of being in touch with the felt sense, but not with the body. I'm just curious about how that can be a possibility.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good entry. So he was very, very in touch with his feeling body. So let me try to make this distinction, which just like what I was just saying, it's not really two bodies, but two levels of the same body. It's the same what I was talking about in terms of awareness and our historic self. So the feeling body, where we have so many of our felt senses, which is actually even larger than the physical body, in my opinion, but it's mostly located in the physical body. He was very in touch. He could really go down in there, this thing in my belly. And he was very expressive in sound when he would be in touch. Oh, yeah, it's real. Oh, yeah. He loved making different kinds of sounds, which is great, I think, for focusers, and to be in touch. And he'd put his hands there. So he was very connected to what looks like his physical body, but it's actually all about his feelings. But when I would say, okay, Gene, let's sit here for a second, like I did at the beginning of this class, just feel your bottom on the seat. Okay, just feel your feet on the floor. Okay, hear the sound of the bird outside, and now come back to this breath. When I would guide him in kind of awareness of just this, just the body, just the sound, that was like new territory. So the physical, what I call the physical body as the physical body, not as the location of the feeling body, I find an important distinction. And I find in terms of therapy, perhaps, because I think a lot of you are therapists, it's such a helpful distinction. And not easy, because people are often coming to therapy because they are struggling with something, so their historic self-identity is very strong. And it's a difficult time to grow this larger sense of self. That's why it's such a blessing to grow this kind of meditation practice or entry into this larger space ideally before we are lost in our stories, but or at least before we are in a very intense emotional state. Is a very difficult time to grow this other sense of self. So what I like to say sometimes is the work I'm interested in is a transformation of self-identity, where historic self is very valued, but it's not seen as the I. The true I is the I of awareness that takes care of everything living within it. So I picture the I of awareness as this vast space. One of the traditional metaphors is you picture the vast blue sky with this warm light. The warm light is awareness in the spaciousness of the vast, vast, vast blue sky. And our life is all these clouds floating through, beautiful clouds, troubling clouds, dark clouds, lovely clouds, birds flying through. That's all the stuff of everyday life. Oh, I'm having a happy moment. Oh, this is really difficult. Oh, is she ever going to love me again? Oh, all the stuff that comes up for us is all this stuff moving through the space. And it's really important that we have an intimate connection to all that stuff, and we don't confuse the stuff with who I am. That I am never the content. I am the caretaker of the content, or I am the presence for the content. That is the I without content. And to have confident, authentic connection to that larger sense of being, and be able to then take care. And I get so upset with the meditators or the oneness people who want to say all the clouds are unimportant because who you are is all this. No. That's our individuality. That's the part of the gifts we're going to bring into the world, are because we're all different and having different experiences. We want all that. But to confuse all that with who you are before your parents were born is a way to say it in Zen language. To have access to an essential sense of self that is before, within, beyond any momentary experience changes everything. And to have confidence in that and be able to bring that to our everyday experiences is a blessing, is freedom, is a gift. And I don't know if you could follow all that, but I kind of went off on something there. Was that began with you, Abby? I'm not sure if I stayed with your... Does that resonate at all?
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And I just have a follow-up question, and I don't know if this is where this question lands, but what is the interface or interaction or relationship with like the felt sense and just the physical body? Because they're sensations, right? Is it like outer sensation or inner sensation? Yeah.
So, it's in my experience, and other people might view this differently, of course. In my experience, it's really helpful to go into the core of ourselves, chest, belly, the what I call the feeling body, and the information that comes from our guts, and all of this to go into here as a starting point for felt senses. But my experience is that once I'm in touch with how it's living in here, the felt senses can include, and it's really helpful to include, the space around my body. That it's not only in, it's through the body. The felt senses don't come only in the body, they come in and through the body. And so it's much larger. So, and that's another real key, I think, for a lot of people is the physical body is too small for all that lives in us. So it's right that we feel anxious. If you think you live in your physical body, you should be anxious, because it's like being in a tight shoe. And unless we, in my experience, unless we also grow the sense of spatial body, then we're going to feel trapped. You seem to resonate with that, Abby. I see a lot of nodding.
Yes. I've been playing with Dzogchen Mahamudra, spatial awareness, so that's so resonant. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Abby. And Stuart, would you?
Yeah, thank you. This is a follow-up to Abby's question. Russell, I'm loving what you're bringing in. What I'm imagining, based on my experience, I'm a manual therapist and movement therapist, is that the practices like you guided us through in the beginning are taking us into our skeleton in our proprioception, right? And then in the focusing way of dropping in kind of to the organ body, kind of inherently is tied in with the affective system, meaning making. Mm-hmm. Do we like something or don't like something? And how is that working for us and feeling okay in the world? Yeah. Right? Dropping into the bones and the button, the chair, and how we are in the room takes us into a different thing. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Feldenkrais used to joke, the next book he was going to write was titled, "Your Skeleton Will Outlive Your Soul." I mean, wanting to bring people into this kind of core sense of body before the organ or viscera that then often carry much of the feeling life. The only thing I would want to add to that is my experience of the light of awareness is larger than all of that. So those are entry points for something that is vaster. Okay. Thank you, Stuart. Well, maybe, I don't know what you all are feeling, and I'm open to suggestions, because we're all in this together, right? It could be a time to get into your small groups so you can share things with each other, and maybe do that for like 20 minutes or something, and then come back, so that you can be a little more active in the dialogue and it's not so dominated by me. Does that feel like it would be a good thing? I need either yes, no, or I'm not listening. You can do it like this if you say, I'm just bored with it all. I'm not listening. So yes, no, okay. Sound good?
I have a question just before you do that.
Okay, go ahead.
Something you said, grow the ground of being before. Do you know what that last word was? Grow the ground of being before.
Who's talking? I can't see you.
Oh, Mary Ward.
Oh, hello, Mary Ward. Let's see, I'm going to put on the speaker. Oh, there you are. Hi. Okay, so the ground of being, grow the ground of being. I don't know what I said. What I will say now is the ground of being before I can say it a couple of ways. I can say before your historic self-identity, before who you think you are, the ground of being before the content of this momentary experience. Now that's not exactly right, but it's pretty close.
Is it maybe before your story?
Yeah, before your story, before any furniture in the room. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. And now we have Nashira and also after that, Cassell.
Okay.
Let's hear you. Thank you.
Hi. So I just was wondering before we go into breakout rooms, if you could, so I got the work that you're interested in is transformation of self-identity from the historic self to the I without context, if that's content. So, and then you went into the blue sky analogy. So I'm wondering if there's something. I guess what I'm wondering is, I would like to hear more about the blue sky, and if there is some piece between those two.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. There is. Yeah, so let me say it this way. For me, awareness has, we could say, three qualities. One is spaciousness. It's a vast open space. Whereas when I'm in a particular experience, my space is more narrow. So it's spacious. It is light-filled. Now, light has two qualities. Light has warmth. So I really differentiate myself from awareness teachers who speak in a kind of cooler way. Because I think, to get a little loose with language, we are made from love. We are made from the warmth of love. So light has warmth, but it also has clarity. It shows you what's there. So awareness has the objectivity, again, tough word philosophically, but let's get near that. The objectivity of showing you what's there. but it's not the coldness of that is often associated with clarity of, it's warm. So it's spacious, warm, and clear. And so that sense that this sky has this capacity and the clouds are moving through. So what could be a missing piece? You're looking for something that connects those, which is wonderful, Nashira. So in my sense, what's happening in focusing is there's 1 foot in the vast blue sky, 1 foot in the historic self. And we take the awareness into what's happening, the clouds, what's going on in the sky. But we're not just in the clouds, we're not just in the historic self. We have 1 foot in the context, the I without content, and then 1 foot in the content, and we're navigating back and forth in focusing. And that's what makes it work, and that's what makes it brilliant. And as people get more capacity for that quality of presence, everything changes. That's a game changer. And it's really hard for a lot of people. And the people who it's really easy for are often also, I don't want to say that. No, that's good enough. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we have Cassell, and then after that will be Liz. Yes. Thank you.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Cassell. Yes, hi. That's an unusual name, Cassell. Is that
My great grandmother's last name? Her name was Caroline Cassell. So
it's a beautiful name. I love it. Thank you. Go ahead. What's up?
I have a kind of specific question. I've been thinking a lot about what is the body? What is the body? What are we talking about, really? And it got stimulated because I've been a meditator for nearly 50 years, so that part I'm not too worried about, and most of my friends as well. So I have a very good friend, and I was just at a meditation retreat with her, and she has a very kind of long-term, very serious case of Ehlers-Danlos disease. Do you know that? It's a connective tissue disease that, it's awful. It's an awful disease. The connective tissue tears just so easily. It's a genetic disease. There are a lot of people actually who have it. And so she went through hell for a long time with that and ended up taking lots of narcotics because there's so much pain in her body. And she finally decided to quit the narcotics and to live with the pain because she felt like she didn't have access anymore to the part of herself that could meditate, that could, have life.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really difficult. But I was talking with her about focusing because I'm so into it and loving it and feeling, like you said, like it provides this bridge for people who've meditated for a long time and maybe never really found, basic self-love because they're just zipping out into space, right? Or various things, being good meditators. But so she kept saying to me, look, I'm always in my body. I can't help but be in my body. It's making me, crazy. And so I said, but, it's not really body like we think of body. When we're focusing, we're kind of somewhere else. And I said, maybe it's like the subtle body, I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, so subtle body. I would like you to speak to that because I'm doing a training and she said she'll be a practice client for me and I want to be as helpful to her as possible.
Well, thank you, Cassell, and it's a wonderful intention to help her. I'm just feeling for just the suffering of us human beings in these bodies.
Yeah.
Whatever we call it, it's pretty challenging. Physical pain is chronic physical pain that is, say, above a 7 or an 8 on the chart is so demanding of attention and so can be so overwhelming. So it's hard to just jump into an answer. So I need to pause for just a minute. And
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. She's worked with herself tremendously. So it's not someone looking for any kind of quick fix or anything. I mean, she's...
Right. Yes. So your picture of subtle body, or the Tibetan picture of subtle body, is pretty close to feeling body. And I think it can be very helpful. So here are a couple of things.
Yeah.
One is when people are experiencing physical pain, they fixate usually either on the painful sensation or on getting out of the body. There's a nice step that's missing that I think I've had the experience with many clients is really helpful, which is to locate what I call the neutral sensations in the physical body. So what do I mean by that? I mean sensations that everybody I've worked with has some sensations that are not painful. I'll often bring people saying, "Oh, I just have so much pain. I have pain everywhere." And so I'll say, "Just feel your lips for a moment. Just run your tongue over your lips. Are they painful?" "Well, no, not my lips, but everything else." I go, "Well," and then I'll find different places, depending on their condition, where they can locate non-pain. And of course, it seems like, a flea on an elephant's back. It seems very small at first. But to be able to direct attention, which is the great power of human beings, to direct attention to neutral sensations, and then even grow slightly pleasurable sensations, like just running. If you really bring attention to running your tongue over your lips and you give it really full on, you can have a moment that goes, "Oh, that feels kind of nice." So to help people grow some sensations that are not overwhelmingly painful, they begin as neutral. Now, often I can help people, again, if somebody is painful all over, this is difficult, but often just sensing the ground. So not focusing so much on my body, but can I feel the chair that I'm sitting on?
Can I interrupt for a sec?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure that I'm somehow asked the question correctly, because I'm not, and she's not interested in using focusing as a way to get out of her pain. She's dealing with that so exquisitely, and she knows what her pain is.
Right.
The richness of focusing to be available to her. She's extremely bright. She set up a whole, internet system before she got sick. But I'm trying to find the place where I can go sort of through what we talk about as body. I mean, the image of Gendlin not being in touch with his physical body gave me hope, actually.
Right. Yeah, yes. So it seems to me, Cassell, that it won't be very difficult, actually, to help her get a sense of feeling that is not pain.
Yeah.
She has a lot of feelings. She has a lot of feelings that are not about the pain.
Yeah.
And how are they how does she know the right name for them? How are they not in her head, but how does she experience them and find her language for how she experiences this? And what will grow out of that is a different sense of the subtle body, or a different sense of what is here that's of value for her.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. That makes sense.
Great.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. That was what I was trying to get at. That's what.
Gotcha. Thank you for helping to clarify.
Thank you.
All right.
Actually, thank you.
Was there?
Hi, I was the next one online.
Okay.
Yes, and this
is it okay?
topic is for you. Yes.
Say it again.
Liz.
Oh, Liz. Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Liz.
I was completely with you until we are made from the warmth of love. I want to know, what does it mean that we're made? Did someone make us? What's this warmth? How do we know it's not cool? How do you know it's love? How do you know it's not hate? What? All of a sudden we're in this, where the flowers and the hearts came up. And that's where I become the argumentative.
Good. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll pause it for a moment. Before that, Liz, you had another question that you wanted to bring.
No, that was it.
That was it. Yeah. Okay. So, I think you can throw it out. I have no argument. There's no need.
Maybe it was just your momentary sense of
no. There's a lot I could say about it, but I don't want to try to convince anybody of anything.
Yeah, okay.
Well, perhaps the sun is what keeps us warm as a planet.
The sun's a good metaphor for my experience of who I am without my problems. That I've traveled so many parts of the world. I've been so blessed to be in very difficult places and beautiful places. And my experience is that it is very, 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 very rare to meet a person who doesn't want children to be fed. It's very, very, very rare to meet someone whose impulse, unless they're really lost in their own story, their own suffering, to help someone who's fallen, an old person falls down in the street and you're standing next to them. That it seems to me that human beings are, when we're not lost in our suffering, are caring beings. This is what I have noticed. And that caring gets overwhelmed by people lost in their story, people lost in their suffering, lost in their fear. But when I have been in touch with who I am when I'm not confused, and other people when they're not confused, the impulse is pro-life. Life wants more life. That was one of Jean's essential insights, that life begets life, that that it's not a meaningless circle, that there's an unfolding forward, and life wants to unfold forward. And why does life want to unfold forward and not backward or not stay the same? It's because it's made of love, what I call love, what I call life forward energy, what I call the sun shining, And so for me, it's not airy-fairy, oh, love in an emotional sense. It's more life-forward energy is essential to the evolution of life on the planet. And as human beings, we get to bring awareness into that. And awareness now wants life to unfold forward. And so I see that as an expression of love in the evolution of consciousness.
Thank you for clarifying. It made it you expanded it, but in expanding it, you made it smaller and more human. And so it felt less like coming from an authority, which is what I had been responding to. This is this way, so thanks.
Sure.
Hi. I was just wondering if I could give a quick analogy with plants and in lieu of what you were saying,
Sure.
That plants always gravitate towards the sun.
Yeah. It's beautiful. That's right.
Hi. I wonder if you would mind taking us through the blue sky imagery again. Last time I was writing it down, but I would love to have the opportunity to just feel and experience it.
Sure. Maybe let's close our eyes for a moment. We can all go on a journey using this metaphor and see if you can let it come through you. So it's an image of who you are in essence, the spaciousness of your being and the light of your being. And the picture is this vast, vast blue sky. Think of endless sky, blue. And the sky is filled with light. So it's not just a sun in one location. The whole sky is filled with light. And this light has the capacity for noticing anything that appears. And it notices it with warmth and clarity. And so the words I'm saying are clouds going through the sky, and your sense of the words are clouds going through the sky, and yet you are this spacious, light-filled being, noticing all this unfolding. And you don't have a preference for the dark cloud or the light cloud. You're just shining on the clouds and welcoming what appears and spacious, light-filled, clarity and warmth. This sky has no capacity for judging. It is like the sun in that sense. It shines equally on weeds and flowers and garbage and beautiful things. It's not making choices. It's vast, light-filled, clarity and warmth. And yeah, and it's actually very interesting to get a felt sense of that spacious, light-filled clarity and warmth. Could you feel that, Nashira? Does that come through a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I think for me, the question was more about the navigation system that we use to move from the historical self, the trapping of the human flesh and the suffering and the food in the sky. What is it that helps us to look at this and take both as what they are? So there's an awareness that allows us to navigate between the two. Sometimes we really choose to be here and it's all wonderful, and then something happens, like your friend gets really sick and bang, you are moved into your historical self, because the wounds of others reminds you of your own wounds and not that's kind of inevitable. So there's something to say maybe about the navigation system that we use between the two.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah, thank you. Well, what I'd say is what's really helpful is to have practices that grow both of those effectively. So, for an example, what I call embodied meditation, or having a practice where you're emphasizing the ground of being, you're emphasizing letting go of thought, letting go of the temporary phenomena, and just letting embodiment, so just the breath, so that would be the only cloud for a little bit in the sky, that you practice growing that spacious capacity. And then on the other side, that one practices being able to name the different feelings that arise, able to name the qualities. This is where focusing is so brilliant. The qualities of those experiences. So when both sides get well developed, then
to do it. I didn't have a room.
we need some muting out there. Yeah. When both sides get well developed, then that is the bridge. One is able to emphasize this. Oh, I'm really getting stuck in this place. I don't have, okay, I need to emphasize a little bit more my larger sense of space. My wife and I are pretty good at working with challenging moments. We've had a lot of experience. But if we're in a moment where I feel like I'm getting triggered, I feel like I don't like the tone of my voice, I'm getting like this, I know what can be very helpful is in that moment to open my attention to not her and not me, but the space around us. Find colors in the room. Find something to shift my attention, so then I can come back to really listening much better. I can come back to remembering who I am when I'm less triggered, when I can be more whole and really express myself more clearly or hear in a more whole way. So by developing these capacities in non-triggered times, it gives the capacity to call on them in more challenging moments. Is that getting near where you were?
Yeah, it makes sense. And it also makes sense that we work towards balance.
Right. Work toward balance. That's right.
Yeah.
And to grow these, it's like so much of the awareness journey, in my view, is working with ordinary moments. What I mean by that is the majority of our life are not these wonderful moments that sweep you away, this sunset, the sun, and they're not these horrible moments where you're so lost in pain. But the majority of life is in that middle 90% or something, or 80%, whatever it is. And that's really where the action is for growing our ability for presence. You don't need to do it in the moments that the world has taken your attention and given you this gift of life. And it's really hard to grow it in the moments where you're really triggered by something. But the rest of life that we usually kind of just go on automatic pilot, doing the dishes, cooking, that's where the action is for growing our presence.
Yeah. And Steph, you had something.
Yes. Hi, let me take my hand down. Russell, so grateful for what you're sharing, because I had a long history of meditation practice, but I was one of those people that was wanting to live out there.
Right.
Live in this place. And it was, spiritually bypassing, all those things of just not really being present because I was running away. And I had to come down to earth, and it was a loud thud for me coming to earth. And but then coming into focusing, I was trying to figure out what's the difference between focusing and meditation. And I think what you're sharing is how they can work together, and how they do work together in a sense. And so what your very simplified explanation of 1 foot in the vast blue sky and 1 foot in the historic self, and then navigating between the two, I really resonate with that. And I'm grateful for that, because it does give me this sense now, a kind of a path around focusing. Sorry, that's my daughter. So thank you. I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, great. I'm happy that connected for you. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes.
Oh, and I do want to say that, sorry, my daughter keeps texting me, that growing that awareness is a path. I mean, it's a long path. To grow that awareness does take a certain discipline.
Yeah. It really does. It really does. And again, for me, and of course everyone's different, everyone has their own path. For me, having a practice that emphasizes the vast blue sky, and a practice that gives me skills at dealing with the appearances of the moment, the feeling states, the thought states, and all like that. Having practices that not to combine them as one thing. In everyday life, I like them living together. But in my practices, I want to grow where I'm not it's funny to say. People, I've had a number of focusing teachers and all like that do my training program and all like that. And they say, oh yeah, I love to meditate. That's when I do my best focusing. I say, no, stop it. This is not the same. We're not doing one thing here. I know focusing is great. We want that, right? And then I have the meditators who, when we're working with focusing, they're going, oh, this is really nice. I'm just kind of like here, oh yeah, that's there. But they don't kind of drop in more deeply and get the meaningfulness of that current thing. They just they're more in the witnessing mode. And that's unfortunate because so much juice is being left out. So I encourage them not to make it into one thing, because they'll go into their bias. they'll go into their distancing bias or their absorbed bias. And so say, no, we want that in everyday life for sure, that I have both living together, but I also want to use practice to grow my ability on both sides.
Yeah, I would say it's giving conscious attention to it, right? I learned how to give the conscious attention rather than just be in the consciousness.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, and it makes, and then Dorothy.
Yes, I just realized something. I don't think I could have learned focusing or it would have been much harder, except I learned to meditate first, which made me open to a clearer space. However, the personal story, wounds, blah, blah, gets in our way. It seems to me the first must be easier, a more simple path into this realm of being, to learn Feldenkrais first. Because Feldenkrais totally addresses the body without the fact that so-and-so in my childhood is still sitting on my friggin' shoulder. Feldenkrais ignores all that. So I'm interested, both in your opinion, maybe Katrina might have something to say about that. You're both so deeply into Feldenkrais.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll start. I say yes, that's part of what I think is one of the great gifts in Feldenkrais work is, as I said in the very beginning, I see the physical body as a missing link for a lot of people. And as people bring awareness to the physical body in the way you can through Feldenkrais and some other somatic traditions, not only Feldenkrais, it often helps people get closer to their feeling life. And those who tend to be very connected to their feelings, closer to their ability to be present to their feelings. So it helps grow both sides of the challenges that most people have. Most people are either distancers or immersers. And right? And so the Feldenkrais or the somatic traditions can help with that middle ground. Does that make sense to you, Megs? Yeah. Good.
Hi. I wanted to go back, Russell, to when you were talking about when you get triggered. There you are. When you get triggered by your wife and how you use, referring to the colors in the room or something to bring you down. I wonder what the step is, how you relate then to your wife. And this question is coming out of my difficulty sometimes with the need to have another or their need to be validated for their feelings versus I've got this whole thing like, oh, but I should be straightening them out. I mean, to be very blunt, I should be doing a teaching lesson. And so I'm just wondering the relational piece for you when you come down and then what's next and how you relate.
Yes. So I'm not 100% sure that I'm answering, but let me start and then you can help me clarify. So there's lots of ways of, to quote Rumi, to kneel and kiss the ground. And what I mean is there's lots of ways to helpfully relate in a difficult moment. Most often with my wife, since again we've had a lot of experience, we kind of stay with it, and if we notice we're getting triggered, we're both pretty good at saying, let's take a moment here, let's take a breath, let's see, I don't like the way I'm, something, okay, what's really important. So we're pretty good at that. When there's a moment where directly connecting in that way and both being able to pause a little bit and reconnect to what's really important to us in those moments. When that's difficult, then the first way we go is we connect to ourselves. We say, okay, let's just have a pause, and we drop into our bodies, drop into our breath, say hello to what's living in there, and then reconnect. Now, what I notice is sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes the best we can do is say, look, I'm going to take 10 minutes. I think we've got this umbilical cord of challenging energy, and we've been in this for the last, we're not progressing. And one of us will say, I want to take 15 minutes to kind of break the cord, then let's come back together. Sometimes it just needs space. So that's another strategy. But in the moment, when dropping in hasn't worked and we're not separating, then what I find helpful is shifting the focus of attention so that I'm widening my experience, which includes the neutral sensations of space, the space in the room, the colors in the room, the sounds that are not connected to our dialogue. And that helps me remember the neutral sensations of, I'm sitting here before this difficulty, around this difficulty, under this difficulty. I'm just here. And a breath comes. Okay, now I'm ready to re-engage more fully, more wholly, less needing to win a point or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's taking responsibility for my attention and learning how I can shift my attention in helpful ways. Not as an avoidance of what needs to be said, but to help me get to a place where I can listen more fully and speak really from my heart. Is that getting anywhere near what you're asking about?
Yeah, the latter, particularly the latter part, when those others approaches haven't quite worked, where the intensity is really great.
Yeah.
And that last part speaks to me.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Oh my. Liz, and then Nancy, and then Raquel.
Thank you, Katerina. Is there ever a time or circumstance when being more aware gets in the way and becomes, studied and non-spontaneous in a sense?
Yeah, that's called non-awareness. That's called trying to be aware.
Can you say what the difference might be?
Yeah, for me, when awareness is here, I'm not trying to be aware. And when awareness is here, there is, as I said before, a basic warmth. When I'm trying to be aware, I'm a little bit separate from myself. It's not a bad thing. I'm just trying to get here. And that often seems studied, or it's actually a way of distancing more than a way of connecting. It's a temporary state that is the best one can do at that moment, but not to be confused with awareness in its natural state. Okay? Thank you.
Awareness in its natural state. Wow. Nancy, and then Raquel, and then a poem from Dorothy.
You need to unmute, Nancy.
I'm sorry. I'm finding all of what you're saying extremely fascinating. And I mean, myself, who I am, is constantly changing and evolving with every interaction and situation I come to. So the concept of the historical self is an interesting one also. And what you were just saying about awareness, I guess
I interrupt you? I want to interrupt you for a second. Is that okay?
Please.
So I'm wondering, would it be true in your experience, this ever-changing Nancy, that there is a way that Nancy notices Nancy? Not the opinions, but just the ability to see Nancy in a given moment. When she was 5 years old, when she was 20 years old, when she is now, that there's something about that hasn't changed. That there's a way you know yourself, the ability to know yourself, the ability for the light to shine on whatever is there. That is rather consistent, even though it's always changing. It's something to consider.
Yeah. Say that again for me. I'm trying to take it in.
There's a way I knew myself when I was 5 and 10 and 15 and 20, that totally different content, totally different abilities to differentiate what's what and name it and all like this. But the fundamental noticing of life, noticing life, the fundamental sense of light being on in that little Russell, that hasn't changed. That sense of what precedes the appearances in the moment. And getting more familiar with that has been very helpful for me.
Often in my youth, I think I wasn't aware. I was, I'm going to blank on the term I'm looking for. I was dissociated a lot of the time as a kid. So I don't think I had a lot of awareness at times.
Well, I think you were not conscious.
Exactly.
Of the awareness that was there.
Oh, interesting.
I think your historic self was not lined up with what in Buddhism would be called your Buddha nature, or your original self, or who you are before your parents were born. And now you don't have to agree with that, believe in that. I'm not trying to sell you.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But your conscious self was all over the place. Your true self was right here, and maybe occasionally you lined up with it, but it's the same now for most of us. And of course, dissociated states are more extreme instances of that, but we all disassociate somewhat. And when part of what I'm talking about is a shift of self-identity from the identifying with the thoughts, feelings, sensations, ideas, plans for the future, memories of the past, all of that lives in time, to the timeless being that is actually here noticing all that. Now, if I'm identified with the Russell in the world of time, sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not, but when I get in touch with what is there before all that, and within all that, and beyond all that, and under all that, and inside all that, it's a different sense of who I am. And I want to value both of those. And I want to get more confident and comfortable in that larger, what I call awareness.
Yes, I love that concept and the spaciousness of just being in this.
Yeah, and what I want
space.
Yeah, and it's stuff that ordinary people like us can experience and actually begin to shift, where it seems like we have two identities, but they actually are one ultimately. But that we get the breadth and spaciousness to be able to be the best friend of what appears in our life, whether it's cancer or a grandchild.
Thank you. And Raquel. And then we'll have a poem with Dorothy. And then perhaps Raphael will say a bit about next week.
Hi, thanks. My question is really, the kind of presence, or what we're calling, I think, the one that's there before you were born. I find I'm reluctant in a certain way to anchor into my body because of this awareness, or like this attachment thing. I don't want to be too identified with my body or rely on it too much, because knowing how temporal it is and already having experienced a disjointedness between my body, my appearance, and how I would like to be or imagine myself or know what my insides are like, they don't necessarily match, and so when there are moments where I feel really grounded in my body, it's a huge leap. It's lovely to inhabit a body as opposed to being more dissociative or more, an aerial creature. But I find it hard to say trust in your body or be present in your body, because knowing I'm going to have to let go of my body in a matter of years. And I do have some kind of belief that there's more than the body. I think it's not just a concept. I feel I believe in that there is something more, and that whether that goes on or not, it's something more and different, and that I can invest in. That seems like a long-term investment, but the body is sort of like, how do we hold it lightly? So can you say something about that? What is a way to be in the body and take advantage of, we have it as a way into the world, but without being too invested in it, and as a setup for heartbreak and more difficulty letting it go?
Yeah. Well, I think this is not a good answer, Raquel, but I think you got it. It's holding it lightly and seriously, and not personally and personally. It's that paradox of when people are disassociated from their body, it's not helpful. When people are identified with their body, it's not helpful. So where is the middle way in terms of valuing deeply the gift of a human body, the precious gift of a human body, without reducing myself in that materialistic way to this body? So it's exactly what you already know. Now, how to do that is to notice when you're getting over-identified. I mean, that's one of the beauties of aging. You're going to decay, and you're going to start, getting wrinkly and getting flabby, and the gifts of aging are very encouraging for non-identification with the body, And yeah, I'm making a joke, but of course, sometimes it's not very funny at first. But it's recognizing that we are a multitude, we are a complexity, and to be able to notice when I've gotten, over-identified with appearance or over-identified with myself as this body, or when I've gone the other way and I've undervalued the gift of all that arises in knowing life and meeting intimate with the present moment through this body. And so my encouragement is sense your body through relationship, through not only relationship to people and living beings, but relationship to your chair. That it's not just your body, it's the earth that's carrying you right now. That we are always in relationship to an environment. And so that helps us to be through our body and not only in our body.
Thank you. I just want to say back to you, when you started to articulate this, I had a sense of like, if you're on vacation and you get to be in a boat in Venice or something, what are those called? Like the boats?
Gondola.
A gondola. You're not trying to dissociate from it. You're trying to really be in that experience of being in the boat. You don't think you are the boat, but you're really enjoying, I'm now in this boat. And maybe that's what our body is. I'm in this weird, wrinkling, committed to abiding by gravity body. And how neat, or something like holding it lightly, but also taking it to the doctor and brushing its hair and so forth. But like a gondola, you're not always going to be in a gondola, but to really be there with it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Hi there. Hi, Russell. I just want to kind of honor the present moment. That's it. That's the only time I can experience now. So I just want to honor this moment with the people that I'm with now.
Beautiful.
So that's it.
Thank you. So is it time for the poem now, Katerina?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Russell, for this beautiful poem. It's My Eyes So Soft by Hafiz, who is a Sufi Persian poet from the 14th century. My eyes so soft. Don't surrender your loneliness so quickly. Let it cut more deep. Let it ferment and season you, as few human or even divine ingredients can. Something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need for others absolutely clear.
Thank you. Raphael, did you like to say something about next week? If not, we can just welcome you here and thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, I was appreciating the gathering is so nice. I've been just once before this one and I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Russell, for it. And so next week is going to be about relationship, about therapeutic relationship, just maybe deconstructing the therapeutic relationship. And Kevin McAvenny is going to be with us as well, because the starting point will be a dream I had with him. And we are exploring this relationship, with all that heartfelt conversation. And somehow we're going beyond that, and we love to share all that with you and see what comes to you with all this and what all that has to do with your relationship with your clients. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Katrina.
So there's a link for today with all the resources, and we'll see you next week. Be well.
Thank you so much, Russell.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Russell. That's amazing.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.